Hi, my dear Astro family. Today we want to talk about the upcoming lunation. It's going to be a Pisces full moon that is taking place on the 30th or 31st of August, depending on what time zone you are in. Now, I'm really hoping to see you, as many of you as possible, in Mexico in my upcoming retreat. So if you haven't grabbed your seat yet, then you might want to check it out. It's going to be happening 6th of November onwards, 5 days. And we're going to learn really cool timing techniques, and we're going to bring them together so you can become your own personal astrologer. And then even if you are a seasoned astrologer, I'm sure that I'm going to be showing you some techniques that you have never used before or you have never considered before, so so it can be really beneficial for you too. But let's get started with this Pisces full moon. So this is actually a super full moon happening in the sign of Pisces. This is the second full moon of the month. Therefore, it's a rare event, and it's also referred to as a blue moon. So it's going to be happening on 7 degrees of Pisces. And as I said, the blue moons are ultra rare because approximately they only happen every 2.5 years or so. So it is a special one. Now, let's not forget that we have got 6 or 7 planetary energies in retrograde. So this full moon is really about revisiting the past. And the tightest aspect is going to be actually a Saturn aspect, which is really kind of close to this full moon, which is also retrograde. So much to do with the past. The past is going to come back. The past is going to bite us in the back, or the past we start thinking about. But we will explore this aspect a lot deeper. So, what is a full moon? A full moon is when the sun and the moon are in opposition to each other. And oppositions are always related to kind of like a seesaw energy. Sometimes we get a little bit stretched out. Oppositions are related to other people as well, or the other side of me. And then I get stretched out. Imagine that someone is asking for help of ours, and I want to help, but at the same time, I know that I've got responsibilities to attend. So I don't know how to say no. And that Saturn, which is actually having a conjunction to this full moon, is gonna encourage you to say no if you don't have the capacity to help someone or you don't have the time. So this time around, because it happens in the Virgo and Pisces axis, you're gonna have to be able to balance out those house cusps in your chart. Now, this lunation occurs in the Virgo Pisces polarity, which is about service industries overall, or being in service to others and being in service to your own body as well. So there is a little bit of a tug of war going on here, how to find the balance, for example, between our day-to-day functioning, routines, and so forth, and something to do with your physical health. Remember that the sun is in the sign of Virgo, which is going to be about order, creating an order out of chaos. And then we have got the other side, which is about health and disorder and a bit of a chaos, pretty much, but also something to do with our vision. So we have got this tug of war where shall I be attending my everyday routines, for example, or duties, or shall I take a rest? Shall I take a nap a little bit? But also, when you look at Virgo, which is basically the tools and the techniques, what you have got at your hands. And then we have got Pisces, which is very much about spiritual tools overall. Which one shall I use? Which one is going to work in this meta? Because Virgo wants to fix something, by using a spanner, for example. And then Pisces wants to fix that, well, wants to fix it by just, I don't know, sending some energies out, asking the universe to back us up. And then eventually it's going to be a miracle and it's going to happen overall. So there is one thing which is so important this time around with this configuration, and that would be the balance. Balance in identifying and expressing your spiritual needs, but also at the same time trying to maintain, Virgo, your everyday activities as well. So if we start translating that into a understandable language, this is telling you that yes, I'm gonna have to go to work, Virgo, but this upcoming couple of weeks, I'm not going to do overtime, for example, because I need rest as well. I need to be able to recharge the batteries. Oppositions are not about siding with one side of the chart or the configuration and then neglecting the other, because usually it somehow backfires. And then when it happens in the sign of Virgo and Pisces, usually it comes with health issues or some chaotic moment. So when you are trying to create so much of an order in your life and you want to do only spring clean, for example, then your body is going to get run down and then you cannot finish off the job. So that's the key here, to be able to find that balance, that sweet moment when you know enough is enough. So, of course, we have got this full moon, which is highlighting Saturn here, big time. So obviously, Saturn went into the sign of Pisces sometimes at the beginning of March. And this is the very first time, pretty much, when it really gets activated, it gets exposed. So Saturn is about seriousness. It's about a closer look at, for example, your flood of emotions. Are you too emotional? Are you on the verge of crying all the time with no explanations? You have no idea why. Maybe you're gonna have to make a tough choice or a decision. Saturn is about reality check. Sometimes I'm just crying because my nerve system is not functioning too well, and that would be the Virgo element. Being worried about something, typically being worried about the safetiness of something, right? Safetiness comes from the fact that Virgo is an earth sign. So the safety of my workplace, for example. Am I in trouble? Am I gonna get fired? How am I gonna pay the bills? Virgo is all about the service industry. So am I going to be able to afford to go to the shop and all those type of things? Or maybe we feel like that we are getting pressurized to make certain type of changes in our life. But then Saturn is the planet of fear. So whatever decisions we want to be making is always a little bit fear driven there. And then what happens is that we're going to start safeguarding ourselves. So this is telling you with Saturn retrograde to step back a little bit, to have a less emotional look at your situation, to gain some clarity, to collect some data, to internalize something within yourself with that Virgo element, to look at something more from a practical point of view. Now, remember that Mercury is also retrograde. Even though Saturn and Mercury are not making an aspect, but the final dispositor of this chart is actually Mercury. So the final dispositor is where we need to be leading. So it leads to remaining sober somehow. Now, Saturn went retrograde back in June. So some of the issues, for example, could be coming from June, July moment, and then it gets highlighted with the super bloom. But also, Saturn is about responsibility and tasks. So we're going to have to look at our tasks. We're going to have to look at our responsibilities. Are we running away from responsibilities or are we taking on way too much? Maybe someone is actually, opposition, as I said, often talks about a third party. So maybe someone is asking us to be more responsible with certain type of topics. And then you already feel that I've got way too much on my plate. I cannot take more on. And then it pressurizes you. You feel you are in trouble. So, of course, it's going to be affecting your nerve system eventually. often we are afraid of Saturn. And traditionally speaking, it is a malefic planet. But Saturn doesn't want to cause trouble in our life. It just wants us to be accountable, knowing that whatever steps we make, there is always going to be a consequence of it. And then what happens is that because Saturn is in the sign of Pisces, and Pisces talks about victimhood, often we just cry over the spilled milk. And then, oh, poor me, why is it always happening to me? And then Saturn says, cut that crap out. You know, gather your strength, build on a stronger confidence, come up with some other alternatives, look at the situation in a sober way. And then guess what? The solution is going to come up. And that's the Virgo side of it. It tells you to create boundaries. Sometimes it tells you to release work. Sometimes it tells you that you're going to have to look at your attachments to your relationships, to your money, for example. I mean, at the end of the day, Venus is also retrograde as well. So we're going to have to look at those. And Venus is the exalted ruler of Pisces. Now, exaltation is always, by the way, how things are going to be playing out. Exaltations are how to simplify that for you so that you can get it. The exaltation are the extra traits we need to embrace for maximum success. So Venus retrograde is telling you to look at your relationships with your body, your relationship with your fears, the relationship with your health. And then if you are focusing on those topics, then Saturn will just exactly play out in the very finest way. Also, you know what? Because Pisces is about kind of like fogginess, Saturn says, let's clear the fog. Let's just sit down for a second. Let's tidy up certain type of things, and that would be the Virgo heavy emphasis there, so that we find a way out of this situation. This is telling you that you might have got stuck in a bit of situation, in a bit of scenario. And this time around, you can have the possibility to get out of that. I mean, what I like about this full moon, that basically we have got a grand trine going on in the earth signs. So the dispositor of full moon is Jupiter, which is making in the sign of Taurus, which is making a beautiful trine to retrograde Mercury. So this is giving us the opportunity to come up with some loads of ideas, to revisit some of our ideas from the past as well. Maybe we haven't really kind of started on them yet. We were just thinking about it, but that emotionality needs to be cut out somehow. So this is an auspicious time this time around to act on some of your ideas as well. You know what? Saturn's positive manifestation is crystallizing your dreams. Pisces represent dream, and Saturn is the concrete reality. So if you are able to cut out all the emotions and approaching things from with mental clarity, this is a really auspicious time this time around. Both Pisces and Virgo are called to be in service to others. But both of them doing it a little bit in a different way. So, for example, Pisces, imagine a Pisces when you are in trouble. Pisces, without asking you whether you need the help, they're going to run up to you and then help you in whatever way they can. They might be giving you a shoulders to cry on. Typically, these are emotional supports or an element of wisdom they might give you. And then Virgo is going to offer you, you know what? No problem. I'm going to look after your doggy, for example. just go and do whatever you need to, or I'm gonna make dinner tonight, no worries. So it's a little bit more of a tangible support, what they can give you hand with. But one of the questions which might be popping up here with this full moon is that, are you expected way too much from others? And then you're gonna have to set some healthy boundaries there because people are taking advantage of you, and then you are doing material as well as emotional support to others. Now remember that this opposition actually gets already started sometimes around the 26th of August, because that's when Saturn and the Sun opposition will start. So the full moon is just highlighting that area for you. Often oppositions come with ups and downs, and you know, as I said, being stretched in two different directions. It's kind of like, you know, when two teams are pulling the rope, who is going to get stronger here? And of course, Saturn and Moon is strong in a sense. And then it's opposing the Sun. Now, the Sun is about vitality. So often what happens is that we feel overwhelmed, we feel drained, we are not in the mood of going to work, we have no physical strength overall. Obviously, the sun is something to do with the light, with your life mission. And then it's against the planet, which is about darkness. So which one are we going to choose here? I mean, these two planets are natural enemies. Often this aspect is associated with melancholy or just the worry about the future, worry about not being able to fulfill your mission. So one of the things is about creating emotional strength, building vitality, and working on your own physical body as well, because Virgo and Pisces are the health axis. I would like to mention that I find it extremely interesting, by the way, that COVID has hit the news again. Some type of variations of COVID popped up and they identified some cases, and now it's already in the spotlight again. To be honest, it's not a shock for me with Saturn being in Pisces. And at the same time, we have got the Venus-Jupiter square going on as well, which is forming a T square with Hygeia. And Hygeia is about prevention. It's a medical asteroid overall. So I was expecting something to do with the medical fields to be in the spotlight. And of course, when we look at the Pisces and Virgo axis, this is about medical professionals, healthcare, but something to do with asylum as well as elderly homes, and so forth. So these could be something which is going to be hitting more news in the upcoming, let's say, 6 weeks or 6 months even. Also, but on a personal level, this is talking to you about a reality check, what we need to do here to get clear on something, to be real about your mental health, about your physical health, or even the working conditions, what you are part of. And then with Saturn, we often run into obstacles. And then Virgo says that you know what, let's just edit it down. I mean, Saturn as well, it says it's bare minimum. So I'm going to look after the bare minimum. I'm not going to have to take on extra responsibilities, even when I'm asked. So Saturn is about saying no to something, letting go of some restraining circumstances. It tells you that, you know what, time is not endless. We have got every single minute counted up there. So it's time to take action now. It's time to plan the future. Maybe you don't know how to plan it. Maybe you don't know how to let go of certain things. Maybe you fear that your plans are just getting delayed. Is it getting delayed because you always have to attend other people's needs? And then, as I said, with Venus being retrograde in the sign of Leo, which is a personality trait now you have to embrace if you want to succeed somehow, then it's about being selfish. It's time to pay attention to ourselves as well. Yes, because it can make you really feeling overwhelmed. Saturn also says to you to go back to basics, like, the baseline of the house. That's what Saturn represents. It's the planet of construction work. You can build your own Eiffel Tower, but it's not gonna be straight if the bases are not there. So with Saturn and Moon conjunction, it's about emotional strength. We all gonna get emotionally probed somehow. And the Saturn is the planet of quality over quantity. So this is also another little problem here. Saturn wants quality work, and the dispositor of this full moon, Jupiter, wants quantity. So obviously, we have got a bit of a trouble here again. I think we need to listen to Saturn. Sometimes we're going to have to be a little bit slower, but it takes us a lot farther or further. So, you know, I recommend re-listening to the video I made about Saturn in Pisces, because some of those topics are getting highlighted here for us. But Saturn is, of course, in the sign of Pisces. Remember that Saturn is not really involved with feelings. So the solution here is to clear the mind, but not overdoing that. It's not going to work either, because Mercury is the detrimental foundation of Pisces. So, meaning that when we are focused way too much on the details, when we are just data collecting, but we don't know what to do with the data, then of course, the more data we have, the more we're going to get confused. So here, it's also saying to you to take your intuition a little bit more seriously. So one of the questions is that which side are you on? Which one you tend to be overdoing, because that needs to be balanced out. Are you way too health conscious, for example, and then you attend the gym every single day, or you only buy organic food, then you're gonna have to let go of certain bits and bobs of that. Or are you too spiritual and then you completely ignore the practicality part of your life, because then you're gonna have to deal with that now a little bit more. Maybe you are way too spiritual, and then you are meant to be looking at the details. You are meant to be analyzing certain bits and bobs. Now, as I said, it can affect in the world, the healthcare industry. Unfortunately, illnesses can pop up with this. The hospitals can be overwhelmed. Maybe the hospitals are going to say no. Maybe it's actually looking at the hospital system that the appointment system is not working. I mean, with Saturn timing, such as, I don't know, you want to go to the doctor and then you're going to have to wait, I don't know, 3 to 6 weeks for an appointment and so forth. Maybe it's the realization that that thing does not work somehow. So hopefully it's not just a realization, but people or the government and so forth would start doing something about that. But Saturn in Pisces, unfortunately, can bring issues with water matters as well, such as the quality of the water or the water supply, which could be struggling, or even the prices of water. Because remember that Jupiter is in Taurus, right, which is about costs overall. So the cost of certain type of fishes and water and so forth. I would like to draw something to your attention. We have got this full moon happening on the 30th, and day before Uranus is going retrograde. So basically, Uranus is going to be stationary in this chart. Stationary planets are always extremely important in any of our charts. And sorry about that. Lola pressed my phone, and yeah, she pressed the phone and then started saying something. Okay, so Uranus is stationary. And Uranus is associated with natural disasters, catastrophes, something to do with an airplane, for example, but also it could talk to us about oil rings, especially because we have got this full moon, and there could be a leakage, for example, which is going to be affecting the oceans, seas, lakes, and so forth, and the quality of food, therefore, from there. But at the same time, when we have got these rare blue moons are happening, it basically means that the moon is a lot closer to the orbit of the Earth. Typically, unfortunately, it brings some natural disasters within plus minus 3 days on each side. So I looked at where these full moons are going to be running, and it's going to be running in Australia, US, the middle part of US especially, and some parts of Canada. So those places might be or should be expecting some natural disasters. I mean, we have got loads of fire elements going on as well at the moment. So it's possible that it's going to be fire related too. Or with the Saturn Pisces element, it's something to do with icebergs or melting of ice and some flood related matters as well. I'm guessing it really depends on what the season is in those countries. Um, but also Saturn represents systems as well. So maybe some of the systems are getting highlighted here, which are not working in the world, such as, for example, the mental health industry, right? So let's imagine that unfortunately someone went through a natural disaster and they do not get enough support. And there's going to be a realization about this. But also, of course, on a personal level, do we actually take care of our mental health enough? Of course, Saturn is still in the sign of Pisces, which is about being confused or something which is hidden. And the full moon highlights that. So it might be some hidden information which is going to get highlighted here, or we're going to get clarity about any information we received, for example, in June or even in March. And that's going to be clarified or modified, or extra details will be given to it so that people can see the full picture. Saturn in the society represents politics. So it could be a political debate, for example, which is going to be released, or a political statement which is going to get adjusted, and so forth. But on a personal level, your fears are getting highlighted here. And there are loads of feelings involved here. And we've got 6 or 7 planets, depending whether you use Chiron or not, in retrograde motion. So it's definitely bringing up a topic from the past. I feel like if there is a full moon happening on Saturn, Saturn qualities needs to be embraced. And we are talking about the positive qualities of Saturn. So it's about maturity, being responsible, being reliable, being sober, and having the attitude to build something. It's about using your own time efficiently. It's about planning ahead. I made a video previously about how to prepare for certain type of Saturn transits. If Saturn is going through your first house, you know what, this is a time when you should be preparing yourself for Saturn going through your second house, rather than focusing always on the present. Saturn never represents the present. It's always about the past or the future. Think about the Capricorn and the Aquarius I mean, not polarity, but signs here. So instead of focusing on the past, which is definitely not going to work, let's focus on the future. That's one of the greatest advice I can give you in regards to Saturn. Saturn, yes, does bring challenges. It's pointing something out for you to grab your attentions, especially when it comes to structures. And maybe the structure needs a good change, or just it needs to be strengthened somehow. How to boost your energy level? This could be a major question here, physically, energetically, and emotionally as well. And something needs to be released here. Something which needs to be repaired or just some adjustments needs to be made. Now, this is the major aspect of this full moon, and there are two minor aspects going on. We have got a very tight quincunx to Juno from the moon, and Juno is about committed partnership, contractual agreements with others. So it could bring up the topic of a relationship for many, but Juno is also the protector of families as well, so such as family obligations, attending those, helping out family members all the time, but you are getting tired of it somehow, and you're going to have to learn to say no. Or it's about the choice to be made when it comes to spending time at home or spending time at the workplace. Maybe because we have got too much going on at work, I cannot spend enough time with my family. But often, Juno, as I said, contractual agreements, it can bring up business opportunities as well. There is a need to make certain type of adjustments in those fields. And then we have got a Sesky square to Ceres, and Ceres is about self-care. It's self-nurturing. But at the same time, Ceres can, because it's the goddess of grain, it can represent abundance as well. So the shadow side of Ceres is always about depression. Remember that her daughter got abducted by Pluto, unfortunately. So often we're going to have to deal with some of kind of like risky or dangerous situations, such as my daughter is going to get abducted. How am I going to be um, preventing that situation to happen? But Ceres also really talks about climate change as well. So unfortunately, something with heat and ice related matters, which pretty much pops into my mind. Um, yeah. So this is my intake on the upcoming Pisces blue moon. I hope it helps. If you like the video, please press like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Have a blessed one. Take care. Bye bye.